I did have a house to record that big house.
As I'm recording this, which I'm going to put on my YouTube channel. Does anybody know what my YouTube channel is? 24 San Jose. Right. It's on the bottom of all my email signatures, and I'll try to send everybody a link that but what the different forms and documents that I'm going to be going through on the YouTube channel there will be links so that you can download them. Okay. And to some degree, my personal feelings about planning is that, first of all, it's good for you to have goals, and it's good to track how you're working towards them, but sometimes it's easier to track what are we doing on an individual daily basis, right? In other words, and we're going to go through these different forms. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because I think a lot of them, with the exception of one, may be self-explanatory. This is a spreadsheet, and I have a printed copy for those of you that don't like computers or hate trees. This is not a complicated one, and this is Jennifer actually converted the paper version. This is not yours? It's not yours. Well, then never mind. Forget that last part. Jennifer had nothing to do with this. But basically, the beginning point is to figure out how much money do you need in order to survive, right? Now, that's not the goal. But how about this? The goal, Maslow had the hierarchy of needs, right? The little pyramid, and the bottom line is survive, right? And then as we go up, so we ought to keep in mind what that number would be. And then we're going to go from this into working out a specific plan. Now, so you could probably do this yourself without a form, right? Right? What is your monthly budget? How much money do you spend? Right? Or in order to have the lifestyle you wish to become accustomed, what would that would be a starting point. Where I really want to jump, because I find this a little more valuable, is a form called the economic model. And I'm going to go through an example for some of you that if you have numbers, I'll put in your numbers. The link to this particular spreadsheet will be included. In Gary Keller's The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and Gary Keller did have Dave Jenks and some other people that helped him write it. But anyhow, they came up with 4 models. One is the economic model, which is we're going to do first. Second is the lead generation model, which we're going to do second. And then there's the budget model and the organization model, which has to do with budgeting and putting together a team. This is why Keller Williams has classes on how to recruit and select. The whole series is called Recruit, Select, Lead, Manage, RLSTL, Train and Manage, right? Recruit, Select, Lead, Train, and Manage. So let's just, does somebody have numbers that you'd like me to put in that you'd be willing to let me? Somebody want to play? Anybody? What number do you need? Oh, like how much money would you like to make in real estate? Does somebody have a number like that? Annual? Annual, just. Yeah. All right. So we're going to say that this is Amber. All right. So in this model, the name that's by default in the model is Calvin Merrigan, and the reason that his name is in the model is because he wrote the spreadsheet. Right. The idea is based upon the economic model of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Now, notice the first part underneath that is recruits added to first level downline. Profit share. The Keller Williams system has profit shared over $500 million. Last year, they profit shared $78 million plus and some change. Would you like to be getting checks every month actually deposited automatically into your bank account? How many people would like to have money just deposited into your bank account? So everybody raises their hands. So in order to be eligible for profit share, somebody has to join the market center and say your name when they were asked why they're here. Now, as a default, we have 3 people, right? As a default, we'll leave it that way. But if you were more aggressive, you might put in 10, 5. We'll leave it at 3. Desired income. This is says 175,000. Do you have a 200,000? Now that number, you're going to see we may need to change it later because this is a top line number. I'll show you what that means as we get a little bit further. We haven't done expenses and splits and things like that, right? So this is a gross. By top line, I mean gross. Our CO dollar, does anyone know what that means?
Sales.
Company dollar. So at Keller Williams, when this and the number varies by market center. Some people have watched me doing this and they said, oh, gee, I liked his. It was like 19,000. And I said, well, that's great. You just have to move to Rockland, Minnesota, right? That's right. And then you too, where the prices are a little bit less. So this market center, and it's $30,000 in company dollars, which means that after the company has earned $30,000, you get 100% thereafter. There's a 6% royalty fee that goes to Keller Williams International. That's where they get the money to do trainings and things that they do. But it also has a cap of about $3,000. Now, if you do the math, if you take an average priced home in Santa Clara County, well, even less than that. If you take something even less than the blended median that Jeff talked about today, like a $600,000 home, if you take that and you figure out what's 6% and how often do you need to sell a home to reach $3,000, it's about 3 transactions, right? So in our market, at about 7.5, using average or median prices and average commissions, you would have capped, which means you're at 100%. And at 3, on your way to 7.5, you would no longer have any royalty fees. The company I used to work at, which I don't say the name, but it was Century 21, it was 8% forever, right? That was the royalty fee, 8% forever. So it is suggested as the Keller Williams model that 60% of your business ought to come from listings and 40% from buyers. Now, sometimes when people are new, those 2 numbers are reversed. But if you want to last, you need to list, right? So we're going to leave it that way. If you say, well, I feel like I'm more of a buyer's agent, I'd like to work with buyers for a while, we're going to leave it that way. All right. Now, you're going to get a copy of the spreadsheet. So I just want to show you how to fill it out. What I'm expecting is that you're all going to download it. Y'all, I guess I haven't. I'm not from Texas. It's just too much. It's starting to creep in. So that would, yes, question.
I'm sorry, I just have a question about the split there. So why is it 60-40? No.
It's generally healthier for you to have more of your business coming from listings than from buyers.
Sure.
So what our recommendation is that if you were to set up a plan, you ought to plan for more listings than buyers.
Okay. So this is just your split of whether.
Yes, it's not a commission split. It's just what percent are buyers and what percent are sellers. Now, one of the top teams in the market center, I had talked to them a little bit at the beginning of the year because although they did over 500,000 in gross commissions, which you would think you wouldn't be complaining, right, if you were doing over 500,000, their problem was 60% of it was buyers, right, and 40% was sellers. If they switch to 60% sellers and 40% buyers, even if they made the same amount of money, they could go on vacation a lot more often, right? Because buyers are far more time intensive than sellers, right? You could have 10 listings and it wouldn't kill you, but 5 buyers would, right? You'd collapse with 5 buyers. All right. So that means 120,000. We're still talking gross. Would come from listings, 80,000 for buyers. Average listing price taken. Why don't we just we're going to put in 600,000, right? You want a higher number?
Oh, let's use the median.
All right. Well, and the median is what did Jeff say then?
790.
All right. Let's see. What is the median in Santa Clara County blended? 796. Why not? It's a spreadsheet. It doesn't care. 796,000, which is the blended combined, I guess maybe a better word, of townhomes, condos, and single-family homes in Santa Clara County. So that's the average listing price, the average sales price. And the reason that they have these numbers, and this may sound counterintuitive, but many times it turns out when we're doing this with somebody that the price point for the buyers they work with are lower than the price point for the sellers that they're working with. It seems counterintuitive because every seller should have a buyer and every buyer should have a seller. But sometimes when people are working, they have more first-time buyers, right? And so the prices are lower. But well, we're just going to assume it's all 796, okay? Now, by the way that this works most effectively is for you to do it and then to track your, one of my mentors way long time ago used to call it, he said to count your figs, right? That was the term he used, which meant every day you wanted to know how many people did you talk to, how many people did you follow up with, how many appointments, and also how well you're doing overall, because you may find your mileage may vary. What is the average commission on the side? 2.5 average. So despite what Leslie says, I wouldn't assume 4. Right? She had a plan. Or 3. So if that being the case, it means that the average gross commission would be $19,900 from one sale. Now, the share of commission, this varies over time. In other words, when you're brand new, there's an investment in the coaching and the mentoring and all the other stuff. Over time, it goes up. After 3 transactions, it jumps to 70%, and then after a while, it jumps. So what we're going to do to and I do this also because I take out, this is an easy way to do it. I'm going to just put in 50% because what that's going to do is make the numbers, we don't have to account for expenses necessarily out of this. I'll show it to you that can be, it's a more complicated spreadsheet, right? So it depends on, I'll leave it that way. So if that, but that percent is going to rise over time. So that means that the agent's company dollars would be $9,950. So at $10,000 rounding up in 3 transactions, you would have finished you'd be at 100%. Average royalty would be $1,190, so 2.5 or so you're done with that. And your average commission would be only $8,700. That's all. So we're not doing transaction fees that charged in some areas of the country. In fact, they've done it around here. Real estate agents were charging $500 as a transaction fee for coordination. We're not doing that. So in order to get where we want to go, you would need 6 listings and 4 buyers. Right? That's all. And the percent in 1 year. That's it. And what percent of the listings that you take are actually going to close? What I'm going to do is I'm going to just say 80%. Now, right now, people will say, well, it's really more like, how about this? I'll do this one. I'll do 0.85. And what percent of buyers that open close? Let's say I'm just going to reverse those 0.75. So do you understand that buyers there's more things that could go wrong and have it fall out of escrow than sellers? Right. Now you could say, well, wouldn't that be the same percentage? It just is right now a listing that you take. The chances that you're going to be paid is much higher than a buyer that wants to buy. Right? If you're going to be betting which one would you most likely end up with a commission check, I'd go with the listing. So that would mean that we would need 7 listings and 5 buyers, which means we need 0.6 listing appointments, listings per month, and 0.4 buyers a month. And the question now is, well, if you had a listing appointment and a buyer appointment, what percentage of those appointments would actually turn into a client? Right? Is every buyer that you meet with in the office going to say, "You're the guy, you're the woman for me, you're the agent I want to work"? Maybe not 100%. Now, this says 80. We could leave it that way. We'll make it a little more conservative, and let's say that you lose 1 out of every 4. All right? Notice how the numbers keep changing. So that means the annual appointments you would need would be 9 listings and 7 buyers, which means you would need less than 1 listing appointment and a lot less than 1 buyer appointment. As by the way, some people have seen me do this, and in fact, Jennifer was doing that, I think, at the beginning, right? Which is the peace sign or the number 2. Do you understand? 2 appointments a month. 2 appointments a month. You could gross $200,000, assuming you only got half of the commission, and that only 1 out of 4 wouldn't work with you, and they don't all close. 2 appointments a month. That's all. So our total volume is 10 units. Do you understand there's some places in the country where you wouldn't be able to rent an apartment doing 10 transactions? Right? Your total volume would be $8 million, and in our market, capping is about 4. Right? So using a 2.5% side per commission side, at $4 million you would have capped, which means that you would have done $4 million in volume at 100%. Okay? Just thought I would. So if you did 12 million, that would mean 8 million would be at 100%. Wouldn't that be nice? If you did 16 million, right? You can see where I'm going with it. So your annual gross commission would be $200,000, no transaction fees, company dollars. Your income before expenses would be $167,000. And we didn't do, and which means you're making a piddly $96 an hour doing that. Now, over here in the top right of this spreadsheet are a place for you to put in expenses. The percentages here and the numbers come from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which they had 1,200 millionaire real estate agents basically turn over their profit and loss statements and go through the numbers with them. And so those were their percentages. So whether you wanted to use that or not, but for example, you could look at this and say, what are my monthly supplies? How much am I going to spend every month on, I don't know, folders and paper clips and staples and things like that? Let's just say it's 100, and we hit enter. Education. Keller Williams has a lot of training that you don't have to pay for. There is some training that you do have to pay for. There's Mega Camp. There's how much. These are monthly. Let's say you want to become well educated, and so you're doing $100 a month, let's say, for various education, $1,200 a year. Equipment would be a new computer, a cell phone, a tablet, I don't know. Let's just say I'm just doing $100 a month for a few things. Phone, I'm including in equipment. Office rent, you don't have to pay that. Lead generation would be marketing materials and things like that. If you were going to be farming an area, it could cost, let's say, $150 if you were budgeting for that. I'm just making up numbers, right? But some of these come from what we were looking at before. Auto insurance, technology, you probably don't have any salaries. Now, what's been happening since I was putting in those numbers is that down here, notice the operating expenses have been put in. And so we're now down, we've spent $5,400, which means we're making $161,000. Now, can everybody understand if I look at this and I say, well, 161 is not enough, why bother? Right? Why get up in the morning for 161,000? If I go up here, I change this number, given all those other, that number down here is going to change too, right? And does everybody see where, does this make, this is, I don't know, does this seem, I don't think this is a complicated spreadsheet, but question.
No, but you had said earlier when you entered the split,
right,
at 50%, that was supposed to.
It would take in, but I threw in some as well. Because what this would mean is that you're going to make a lot more money than this. Right? And because of the way you get paid so much on the first three, then more on the next group, and then 100% on that, it makes it a little, it's a more complicated spreadsheet that takes all of that into consideration. And by the way, the in the millionaire real estate agent budgeting class, they assume a 50% for cost of sale for everything, because there's other costs of sale and things like that. But we're not. I don't want to get into all that. So, millionaire real estate agents also have a lot of expenses, right? You know, they have team members and they're getting splits on that, but not 100%. It's more. So this, your mileage, you'd be doing better than this, right? If you did 10 transactions, you'd be doing a lot better than this. But 161,000 would be the bottom line. How are we doing on this? Now, when it comes to dollars, so what constitutes a real goal? What constitutes a real goal as opposed to an unreal goal?
It has to have a specific, it has to be specific, and it has to have a specific time frame.
Right. We're doing the SMART goal setting. Yeah. So let's say if I said to Amber, would this be $161,600? Would that be a realistic goal?
For my first year?
Yeah, you'd be okay with that. How about if it was only 120,000? Would you be okay with that?
Barely.
Barely. How about 100?
Yeah, that's when it's crossing the line.
Yeah.
That's when it's not working at my old job.
Right. So, but does everybody get the point I'm making? Right? Because I've seen people do. They say, well, how about 40? Right? I mean, and at a certain point somebody says, wait, no. Right? So that's really the goal. Right? Do you understand? Now, what I've found from the little bit of time I've been doing this is that sometimes you have to get into production in order to set meaningful goals. Right? So in terms of that, any questions about this spreadsheet? Right? I'm going to put a copy with the video. You can download it, but this would be something that I would recommend that you go through. Right? You've got some sample numbers. If you want, at the end, I'll print it out. If you would like to see my sample numbers, right? We'll change the name so it won't. This talks about prospecting and marketing, which this list comes from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent as well. And what prospecting versus marketing, because you see now all that the economic, we're transitioning from the economic model to what's called the lead generation model. Right? So the economic model is about numbers. Right? The bottom line is you're going to need, well, one listing appointment and one buyer appointment a month would be enough, right? Wouldn't that be enough? Right, rounding up.
Yeah, based on the model.
Based on the model. So the question is, where are we going to get them? So the two ways in which you can get business involve prospecting versus marketing. And this is from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I believe it's on page 133. And if you're wondering, well, I don't know what to do, this is a list. So what I want to do is lead generation, allocation, list, economic model. How about this? This spreadsheet has to do, now let me go back here because my memory is just not what it used to be. We need 10 transactions. Okay, that's what I was looking for. So this is the Keller-Williams lead generation model, and we're going to do 10 transactions, 10 closed sales. Now, how much there are, in generally speaking, two kinds of people you can market to. They're the people that you've met and the people that you haven't met. There are agents who have built their career out of just talking to the people they've met. One of the millionaire real estate agents interviewed by Gary Keller worked at the company I used to work at, Christina Martinez Silva, who essentially works a church that she's a member of. But she really works the church. She donated a bus for them to use, which says donated by Christina Martinez Silva. Right? She really works the church, and almost all of her business comes from people that she's met at church and people that they've referred, and she grosses over $1 million a year in commissions. Right? Now, the question is, if we want to do 10, one of the questions that you're going to have to offer to come up with is, where are these 10 people, where are the 10 closed transactions going to come from? How many of them are likely to come from people that I've met versus people that I haven't met? So if in the millionaire real estate agent, they used most of the agents that they interviewed used a version of the 33 touch campaign. Right? The 33 touch wasn't a Keller Williams idea. It was originally a guy named Joe Stumpf and then Brian Buffini. But most of the millionaire real estate agents were using this 33 touch system, which means 33 times in a 12-month period they would touch in some way. And the more effort you put into this, the more effective it is. And what they found is that they were getting 2 sales from every 12 names they had. Now, that would mean if you, and I think that, I don't know, is it doing the math for me? I just have to look at, let me see. I'll go back to 16 and see if it changes. Yes, it does. It's doing the math. It's been a little while since I looked at this spreadsheet. So if I put in 10, it means that I would need 60 people in my MET database in order to do 50, right, the number of names. So that would be, so if half of them are going to come from, is that right? 2 sales for every 12 names. So I guess that's looking for half of it. And then the people that haven't met, the idea is that you need, the estimate was 50 people in order to do 1 transaction. So you would need 500. So I think that these numbers are correct. If every 12, what's 60 divided by 12? 60 divided by 12? 5. So that's half. And then this would be half. So that would be, it's coming.
It's 1 sale per 6 names. So
it's looking for half total sales.
Half comes from this. 1 for every 6. So if you wanted, the number of names per sale would be 1 sale for 6. So you would need, you get 1 sale for every 6 names. So you would need 60 people.
They're calculating
100%.
Either or situation.
Either or.
Not a combination.
It's not a the combination is down here.
Yeah, so it's 10 sales. 60 minutes would give you
10 sales.
10 sales. Yeah.
At 1 for every 6.
Yeah. Not half the requirement, the whole requirement.
The whole requirement. Thank you for, I was doing that on purpose to see if anyone was paying close attention.
Oh, yeah.
So is it possible for a database of 60 people to produce 10 transactions?
I don't think so, but yeah, maybe.
Well, let me ask you this. If the average person knows how many people? About 250. How do they know that? A couple of ways. This is a rule of thumb, right? First of all, they find that one of the studies did how many people are at an average number of people are at a wedding, and the answer was 500. 250 from the groom, 250 from the bride side. How many people are on average at a funeral? And the answer was about 250. Right? Some of you may remember the Unabomber, right? Some of you remember the Unabomber, the crazy guy that was living as a hermit in a little shack and, you know, taking showers out of buckets and things like that, didn't have electricity. And after they caught him, they went to the town, and you know what everybody in town said? Oh, yeah, that guy, we knew him. Yeah, he was down every Tuesday, he would be at the library. The Unabomber knew 250 people, right? You understand, right? It seems like he even knew that many people. Yeah, well, I was hoping it wouldn't bomb, but is it possible then that you could find 5 people that would, if you had somebody that was an advanced advocate who really believed in you and was trying, that could refer 2 people a year to you? Right? Or 10 people that would refer 1 person a year to you. Or 60 people that could refer together 10 people to you. You understand? If you think about those numbers, if you have the right people and you treat them right and you follow up with them and you engage with them, this is possible to do. So one question, and by the way, I've, you know, I met people in elevators. I sold a house to somebody that was a checker at Nob Hill. You know, I mean, you just have to. I was wearing stuff, by the way, that said I was a realtor. Right? I had a name badge. It's actually one name badge. I see one name. People are digging for their name. You want to, all right. So if we had 60 of good people in our contact database and we worked it well, we could do 10 transactions. If we had 500 people that we just met, right, and got them into our database and followed up, and if we did a combo, which is we wanted 80% from Mets and 20% from haven't mets, right, which is a good split, we would only need 48 people in our database and 148 people that we hadn't met before that we've met and talked to. Yes.
Well, I'm sure you're going to get to this. But there is this idea that you actually need more. The percentage could be correct, but you actually need larger numbers. Right?
To do what?
Like, you're not going to get necessarily 2 sales just by talking to 12 people.
We're not talking about 12 people. What the 2 out of every 12 came from people that were in a agent's database that they knew and had met that the agent was doing a 33 touch campaign on. Now, when I have people that say to me, well, I've got 700 people in my database, right? And how many of them have you called and talked to? Well, what have you, in other words, usually when I'm looking at what they're doing, they're not doing a real campaign. Now, the Keller Williams system has a 33 touch email campaign, which is better than nothing. But that's not, as if you read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent about what or that's also in the playbook, you know, the coaching book that you get, there's a section on that campaign. If you were to customize it,
Personal notes.
right, personal notes, not, let me just say, if all you do is send people email, your numbers are going to be really lousy. Your percentages are going to be really bad. right? So if your 33 touches are 33 emails that you send people in a 12-month period, you're not going to be getting these results. But if it involved phone calls, handwritten notes, postcards, and things that's why I put in some money for marketing and other things so that they got something from you that other than an email, then social media contacts, right? They call it pop. I remember when I heard Buffini talking about Popeyes, I thought he was talking about Popeye, but he was saying to pop by and say hello. Right. Right. That means coming and talking to somebody in person. That's when you get 2 for every 12. Not just putting people in a database, launching a email drip campaign, and waiting for the phone to ring. Because the phone doesn't ring. All right. Okay. Any questions about that? What we're going to be doing next week is, so first of all, your assignment, should you choose to accept it, is later today, this will be on my YouTube channel, plus I'll put links to these 2 spreadsheets. If you want to give me a business card or if you have one of my emails and you send me an email because you don't want to find my YouTube channel, I'll send you the links directly once it's up. Okay. Then what we're going to be doing next week is we're going to spend some time, but we're going to be doing a series on working with sphere of influence, but at the beginning, we're going to spend some time on breaking this down into what we're going to need to do for a weekly, daily, monthly basis in order to reach the goals. But in order for this to work, you're going to have a number, right? You understand? You're going to have to be able to say, I want 10 transactions, I want 9 transactions, I want 20. You're going to actually have to have a number with some idea as to where they're going to come from. Sound like fun? So next week, 1:30, we're going to do this, and then we're going to talk specifically about sphere of influence. How do you get 2 transactions for every 12 people? That's going to be, I'm going to be starting it, and then the week after that, Quincy will be doing whatever Quincy does. All right, thank you.
Question, please.
Mm-hmm.